Good morning. Today is Thursday, the 26th day of Teves. We begin today chapter 14 in the Tanya. And Alter Rebbe here begins explaining what is the realistic goal that we should strive to achieve. Until now, the Alter Rebbe explained the levels of the what is a tzaddik, what is a rasha, a righteous person, a wicked person. And in the last two chapters, the Alter Rebbe described what is the intermediate, the Beinani. Basically saying the Beinani is one that controls his actions and his thoughts and his speech, but that does not control his heart, does not control his feelings. He still has the evil inclination, and that depends which level of the Beinani. Some people are higher levels, but a simple Beinani person on the lowest level is a person that really has every single day wakes up and he has to fight again. Later on in the chapters, the Alter Rebbe is going to explain and advise how to deal with all of the challenges that we have and so on and so forth. But the Alter Rebbe begins here explaining that this is what we should strive to achieve, because everyone can achieve that measure of the Beinani, a level of not just being in the state of Beinani, but really acting like a Beinani. Acting, that means that every moment you can say to yourself, when it comes to a test, whether to do the right thing or to do the wrong thing, you say to yourself, I can do it. And I want to do it. And I don't want to be separated from Hashem, not even for one moment. And so this is really the goal that we should strive to achieve. We should not think that we can be a tzaddik. The tzaddik is one who eliminated completely the Yetzer Hara, the evil inclination. So that is something that is not for the average person. So that is exceptions. Sometimes people get this. People get the ability to become the tzaddik, but that is very, very unusual cases. But what we can do is reach the level of a Beinani. It's easier said than done, yes. But the thing is, you don't focus on being a Beinani. You focus on the little thing, what is right in front of you, on the day-to-day, on the moment-to-moment. That's what you focus. And that is something that you can really achieve. So let's see inside chapter 14 as we begin in the Tanya. Said the Alter Rebbe, "V'hinei midas habeinani im midas kol odom v'achareo kol odom yimshich." Now the rank of Beinani is one that is attainable by every man. Each person should strive after it, to strive to achieve, to act like a Beinani, as they say. So it's not striving to be in the rank of a Beinani. I mean, it says the rank, but the midah is not the madrega. Madrega means the rank. Midah is the measure of a Beinani, meaning acting. This is something that every person can achieve, to do what a Beinani is doing. If he has not yet attained it, and should not think it beyond his reach, should not think that it's not possible. Says the Alter Rebbe, for every person can at any time or hour be a Beinani. And why? Why is it so achievable? Although when you look at the Beinani, the way the Beinani acts, it seems like this is a tzaddik. He's not doing anything wrong. He's not even thinking anything wrong. Says the Alter Rebbe, because the fact that he's not doing or thinking or speaking anything wrong doesn't mean that he doesn't have a Yetzer Hara. It doesn't mean that deep inside he doesn't have a desire to do wrong. That's what Alter Rebbe says. Ki ha-Beinani eina moyes b'ra, because a Beinani doesn't abhor evil, unlike the tzaddik. He does not find worldly pleasures revolting and loathsome. Shezeu davar hamasul haleiv. For this is a matter entrusted to the heart. And as we explained earlier, that the Beinani did not transform his heart yet. He still has the Yetzer Hara in the left side of his heart. And also, if you remember, we mentioned that from time to time, a Beinani can achieve, even in his heart, the feelings of love to Hashem and despise the things that are against Hashem. But this is only temporary, and this is in the certain times. It says, "V'lo kol ha'itim shavos." Also, not all times are alike. There are times, such as during prayer, when one's heart is open and receptive. At such time, he may evoke a loathing towards evil. At other times, the heart may be blocked. Sometimes when Beinani it doesn't have any feeling, any sense to spirituality. You see, this is the Beinani, is because he's human, but yes, from time to time he can have challenges. And later on in the chapters, the Alter Rebbe is going to explain how to deal with each and every of these challenges that he has. What can he be in full control? This is when it comes to the actions, meaning turn away from evil and do good. Those two things, the Beinani is in full control. Hello, that's what Alter Rebbe says. Rather, the task of the Beinani is only to turn away from evil and do good in actual practice, in deed, speech, and thought. In these matters, as opposed to the matters of the heart, every man is given the choice, ability, and freedom. To act, speak, and think even that which is contrary to the desire of his heart and diametrically opposed to it. Meaning a Beinani is able to completely do something against what he wants. And that is something that every person can do. I've known people who were heavy smokers and they couldn't get away without smoking. But then they had a heart attack and they went to the hospital, and cold turkey, they stopped smoking because the doctor told them that this is something that is dangerous for them. So what happened to the desire? What happened to the desire to smoke? It controls it. There's something deeper in his mind that tells him that this is not good for him, so he pushes it away. Didn't stop the desire. The same thing is also in if you think about it. I grew up in Yerushalayim, so everybody smokes there. When it comes Shabbos, all of a sudden there's no such thing somebody has a desire to smoke on Shabbos. You know what, Shabbos, that's it. Shabbos smoking, that's impossible. So when you realize that this is something that is completely out of the question, then so you just don't do it. Not only you don't do it, but you also, this is affects also even the desire also. When you have this deep understanding of what separates you from Hashem for this Jew that is so observing, knows Shabbos is something that you cannot break. So smoking on Shabbos is out of the question. So that's why they had on Saturday night, they had a box like a gemach, people to give out cigarettes. I don't think this works anymore these days. Smoking is not so cool anymore. But in any case, the point is that when a person realizes that something separates him from Hashem, doing something, he's not going to do it. He's not going to want to do it even. And even if he does want to do it, it's easily, he can push it away, knowing that this is not the right thing to do. As the Alter Rebbe continues, and it says, so this is something that every person can do against what he wants. For even when one's heart craves and desires a material pleasure, whether permitted, some pleasures are permitted, in which case it is only the lustful nature of the desire that is evil, as we explained it earlier. Things that are permissible to do, then you have to do it for the sake of Hashem. Or whether, God forbid, forbidden. So when a person has this desire, whether for permissible desires or forbidden desires, God forbid, he can conquer his desire and divert his attention from it altogether. How? By declaring to himself, literally saying to his heart as follows, I do not want to be a Rasha, even for one moment. Because at the moment when a person goes against the will of Hashem, at that moment he's considered a Rasha, wicked. And why don't I want to be called a Rasha? Because I don't want to be separated from Hashem. Because under no circumstances do I want to be parted and severed, heaven forbid, from the one God. As it is written, your iniquities separate you from God. So when you realize that a certain action will separate you from God, which is your life, you don't want to do that. You just don't want to separate yourself. What do I want? I desire instead to unite my nefesh, ruach, and neshama. These are the three levels of the soul. Nefesh is the part of the soul connected with action. Ruach, the part of the soul connected with emotions. And neshama is the part of the soul connected with the intellect. So I want to be connected with God through investing them in His three garments, in God's three garments. What are God's three garments? The spiritual garments. Namely, action, speech, and thought dedicated to God, His Torah, and His commandments. And these are called His three garments because they lend expression to His wisdom, the Torah, and will, the mitzvahs, which are one with Hashem Himself. And where does this desire come from? This desire to unite with God arises out of love of God that is surely hidden in my heart, though I do not feel it. Just as this love is found in the heart of all Jews, who are called lovers of your name, the lovers of God's name, by reason of their inherent love of God, although they do not all feel this love consciously. And the Alter Rebbe goes on to say that even the most light-minded Jew person who is careless about Judaism, about keeping, even such a Jew is able to give his life away not to be separated from Hashem. Va'afilu kal shebekalim, says the Alter Rebbe, yochel limsa nafshe al kedusas Hashem v'lo noifel aloichem mimenu bevadai. For this reason, even a kal shebekalim, a most unworthy Jew, I don't know if it's unworthy is the right translation. Kal means the light-minded, because every Jew is really worthy. So even the most light-minded Jew is capable of sacrificing his life for the sanctity of God. Should he be forced to deny him, God forbid. Surely I am not inferior to him, meaning in the level of connecting to Hashem. A person who is really in the lowest levels will give his life up. And that is something we experienced throughout history. Jews gave their life up to not to be separated from God. And we're not talking about Jews who were very observant, from Orthodox families, religious families, even Jews from that were not raised religious. Were ready to give up their life when the point came to a red line that they didn't want to cross. Whether it's in time of the Inquisition, whether it's the time of the Holocaust, and throughout history, Jews would give their life up not to deny the Judaism. And that is a phenomenon that has no explanation, has no logical explanation. Why would a person want to give his life up for some beliefs? Really, something like this cannot be explained. You can see it in other religions, people are giving their lives up, but there we're talking about fanatics that are brainwashed. They believe in something higher that is going to save them. But a person who is careless, light-minded in Judaism, and yet giving his life up, why does he do that? Because deep inside he knows that there is a certain line that I cannot separate myself from Hashem, consciously or subconsciously. And therefore, says the Alter Rebbe, this is what you should think when you are about to go in your daily business, and there's a certain situation that comes to you, you should think to yourself, wait a second, I cannot do this. Even the most light-minded Jewish person who couldn't care less about Judaism, he will give up his life, what? Not to be separated from Hashem. Well, this thing, what you are doing, is against what Hashem wants. And when you realize that this is what you're doing separates you from Hashem, then you wouldn't do it. It's like the heart attack. The person who had a heart attack wouldn't smoke, wouldn't touch a cigarette. In that case, so the same thing that says the Alter Rebbe. So what's the problem? In that case, how come people still go and they do things against the will of Hashem? Because they don't realize. Because there's a foolishness. There's a foolishness in the heart, in the mind, that tells them that it's okay. I can do this. It's not going to cause any separation. Says the Alter Rebbe. Continues the Alter Rebbe inside. And it says, Elo shenichnas b'ruach shtus. The only problem is that a foolishness.
Rabbi. Hello? Really quick. I don't mean to interject. What you just said, yes, I think foolishness is a very broad term. I believe that it's much more intricate and detailed than just saying foolishness. It has to do with just a person's animalistic and spiritual battle within them, and certain things that they just have to experience and try and kind of harness over it, like control it. Some people could control better than others.
Yes. Again, so we'll discuss further.
It's a very general term that you just throw everything, that people just throw everything under.
So we'll discuss it further after the shir.
Okay. All right.
But the point here is, what he's saying here, when we're talking about foolishness, is talking that particular thought that doing something against God is not going to separate me from God. That is a foolish thought. That's what he's saying. This is the foolishness. That you don't realize that what is a mitzvah? A mitzvah means connection. What is the only way that you can connect to Hashem is when Hashem initiates a connection. And that is the mitzvah. And when a person goes against it, that is considered the foolishness. So let's continue inside. We'll talk more after the class. So, says the Alter Rebbe, ונדמה לו שבעבירה זו עדנו ביהדוסו ואין נשמוסו מבדלת מלאכי ישראל. It says it is only that the spirit of folly has overcome it. And he imagines that committing this sin will not affect his Jewishness, and that his soul will not be severed thereby from God of Israel. That's what he thinks. V'gam. Similarly, the Kal Shebekalim, the one who is the most light-minded person, he neglects the positive mitzvahs, although his natural love of God dictates that he fulfill them. So why does he neglect them? Because he also forgets the love of God in his heart. They have the love of God in his heart, but sometimes you forget. But you should think to yourself, every person should think to himself, but as for me, I have no desire to be such a fool as he. To deny the truth. I don't want to be separated. So it's like, sometimes happens with parents with children. They get involved in some friction. And that love that is there, you love your father, you love your child, but still can happen sometimes you forget the love and you get involved in so the outside the circumstances and you do something foolish to sever the love. But then you realize, wait a second, that's my son, this is my father. So here, this is what the Alter Rebbe says, this is why, and this is how every person can achieve the level of the Beinoni, which means that when it comes to the action of mitzvahs, we're not expecting you all of a sudden to become a tzaddik, to hate and to despise anything which is against God, but what we do expect is that step by step, on a daily basis, every moment you think to yourself, what is this action going to do? Is it going to connect me to Hashem, or God forbid the opposite? And that's why, knowing this, the love that we want to be with Hashem, and the mitzvah that connects us to Hashem, will help us to make the right choice. So this is the end of today's shir. We're going to further discuss if anyone wants to further any questions. Don't forget to share this and to invite friends to join us for the Tanya share.